And welcome everybody to the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. Joining me live is another Joe Lombardi from SWACO. Thank you.
Mayor, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No, I'm really glad you're able to make it. It's one of those things when I'm looking at the calendar and trying to figure out, okay, who haven't we had on, who do we need to have on, what do we need to talk about? And I know we had run into each other a couple of times over the last few months. I'm like, that's what I gotta go and bring that in. But for people who don't know, what exactly is SWACO? I know it's SWACO, and we use that term here, and we all know what it is, but for everybody else.
Sure, so SWACO is one of 52 solid waste districts in Ohio that were created by the state of Ohio back in the late 80s, really to divert material away from landfills and to provide recycling and diversion programs. That's really what the House bill was intended for. So SWACO is one of those 52 districts. We cover all of Franklin County. We own and operate the landfill off of 665 in Grove City. We also operate 2 transfer stations, and we provide educational and resources for diversion programs. So we are the waste authority for Franklin County. So that's 41 communities, including Reynoldsburg.
So it's interesting you say that it was in the 1980s, because obviously people have been throwing things away long before that. But to try and figure out how to shift that from everything goes into the trash to what it is now is a completely different thing.
Yeah, so back then they called them dumps. Everybody just threw whatever they had into a big hole, and they kind of covered it up, and everybody referred to them as dumps. And today they are really environmentally safer. They are an engineering marvel. Landfill is really about engineering, and there's more to it. There's a lot of permitting that goes on with that, and so it's a much safer way of getting rid of waste today than it was, even 30, 40 years ago.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, what are some of the biggest changes that SWACO has seen over, let's say, the last 5 to 10 years? I won't go back to the 1980s because that's a little bit more. So
sure. So I think some of the bigger things that we've done as an organization is we've brought ourselves more of a presence in our communities and touting what we're doing to help our communities get from point A to point B when it comes to their diversion programs. I think the other big challenges that we have is some of the material is beginning to become greater and greater. For example, construction debris is a really big issue today that maybe it wasn't 5 years ago with all the construction. As you know, it's everywhere. And so I think that those are the 2 biggest things. Plus, I think we've done a better job of finding solutions for communities and for businesses that maybe 5 or 10 years ago really wasn't a mainstream. And we have a really great programs team who really works hard every day to make sure that we're always thinking outside the box and what we can do better.
So when you say SWACO works with local municipalities, I know that obviously there's a grant program that Reynoldsburg has participated in, and we try and do things with our events to make sure it's trash and actual recycling and things like that. But what are some other things that you do to work with municipalities other than just being that transfer point or place where all the trash goes?
Yeah, so we offer a variety of programs. We offer a school program, a school recycling champions program. We also have a business champions program, recycling program. We have a food waste program that we can help you develop. We have grants, as you said, that can help with offsetting some of the costs for curbside recycling and the containers that go with that. We also have tours of the landfill and an education portion of that for children of all ages and schools and people and groups. If you want to come out, please, visit our website and book a tour with us and really get to know how that works over at the landfill. We also provide technical assistance for communities, whether it's consulting and helping them develop a program. We also look at some of the larger community-wide consortiums, which I know Reynoldsburg is part of it, which helps us with their hauling and getting better pricing, because when it's the power of economics, right? The more and the better cost it is for you. So, I mean, I could go on and on about how many programs we offer, but just a tremendous group that we have that does this every day. And if you visit swaco.org, there's all kinds of resources on there for your residents.
Well, I think the one thing that our kind of internal goal that we want to do is a pilot program for food disposal. So I know we are looking at some different things. We have a location picked out, and so now we're getting into that next level of figuring out, because we want to provide that option. we've done some surveys, and for whatever reason, not every resident in Reynoldsburg watches this show, but for those of you that do, thank you. But when, in a city of 42,000, you know, we didn't have an overwhelming request to have like curbside pickup. So we want to do something first, kind of see where it is to let people know about the program, and then hopefully maybe move to a curbside at some point in the future. And I know you guys are going to be there. So now thinking ahead, for the next 5 to 10 years, what are your goals and objectives for SWACO? What do you see happening over the next decade?
Yeah, I think my focus has always been how do we take our, what I will call our legacy programs, our recycle rights, Save More Than Food, our school programs, and how do we expand that? How do we make it bigger? How do we do things that we haven't done in the past? And it's really about more diversion, more reuse, repurposing, and reduction. That's really what we are looking at in the next 5 to 10 years. And we're ready to roll out a strategy that we will start to address some of the food waste drop-offs and have some composting abilities here locally so that we don't have to take that food waste outside of Franklin County and maybe turn that back into the communities and you know, whether you have a community garden or a church or something that wants to use it. We also want to look at practicing what we preach. We tell you every day, we tell your residents every day what not to do and what to do, and we need to do a little bit of that ourselves. We need to find convenient ways for our residents to get rid of hard to recycle materials. That's a big thing. Textiles, batteries, styrofoam, all the things that you just don't know what to do with. And we've started a recycling convenience center over on in Grove City area, but we want to expand that. We want to put those in different communities and make it easier for your residents to be able to do that. And then address our business community. That's big. I mean, the commercial sector is 60% of what comes into our landfill. And I know they're willing, it's just we got to figure out a program that works for them, and our business recycling champions is starting to do that, and we just want to build more on that. So
I think for me, that's one of the things that I find most intriguing, because one of the things that we have heard is some of our residents that live in apartments or townhomes, they don't always have the same access to the recycling, and I would really like to get that, because I know for me, like our trash day where I'm at is tomorrow. And our recycling bin is already about 95% full, and I think I've got one bag of actual trash. Now, to be fair, it's just my wife and I. My kids are gone for at least another month from college, but I think that's what you're starting to see is more people actually doing the recycling thing as opposed to just the actual trash. And I think the more that is, that's better for the city, it's more cost effective, let alone the environmental impacts.
Yeah, and that's great to know, because I'm with you. I mean, it's just my wife and I, and I literally put out a trash bin one time, and I thought, this is weird. This doesn't, and I looked in, and there was absolutely nothing in it. So I just pulled it right back. I'm like, why put it out there? Which is great, right? It's less coming to the landfill. But I think the more and more people can work on how do I divert more out of my trash. And again, I can't emphasize enough, give us a call. We'll certainly try to help the community. But, get on our website. We have resources there for all your residents with tips and practical ways.
Do you mess with your employees and show them a yogurt container and say, is this recyclable?
I do that. Yeah, I do it purposely sometimes just to get yelled at, just to see if they're on their game, but they're pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good. They catch me all the time.
I can easily imagine me doing something like that just because.
You have to.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
You have to.
It's low hanging fruit.
It is. It is.
So for everybody who's watching, other than putting trash in trash cans and recycling, what else can residents do to kind of be more helpful, more mindful of everything?
Yeah, so it's an individual behavior business that we're in. There's 1.3 million-ish people in the Franklin County borders, and we're trying to educate all of them. We are practical enough to know that we're not going to get all 1.3 million, but I look at it as 3 buckets. There are those that are champion recyclers and diversion, whether it's food waste or recycling in general, reuse and repurposing. And I say to them, keep doing what you're doing and keep doing more of it. Then you have the folks that are in the middle that are sort of, I do it, I'd like to do more, but I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure what to do. I tell them to keep trying, keep doing one more thing. Get on our website, find out what maybe you're confused about or not sure about. We have a neat way of searching for something that'll tell you exactly what to do with that item. Then, you certainly have those that, just aren't sure. And I say to them, come to the events that Reynoldsburg has, come to the events at We Table and talk to our folks and let us help get you there. But I say just one person at a time, one step at a time. You know, move the runners is what I always say. Move the runners. Don't need to hit a home run every time. And I think, you know, if everybody can do a little bit of that, we can get to a sustainable future.
All right, so I know with all the people planning on moving to the Central Ohio region.
Yeah, a lot.
It's going to be interesting. Do we have any questions come in at all?
We have two. The first one would like to know, when is work on the new sports facility going to start?
Any questions for SWACO first?
One kind of.
Okay.
So they say they live in a private community that doesn't have a recycling pickup off of Livingston near 256. How can they find the closest spot to drop off?
Yeah, so if you get on swaco.org, we do have a recycling drop-off program. And on that, you can click on the map and it will show you where the closest one to your neighborhood is. And if there's not one close, give us a call. We'll see if there's a way we can maybe put one out there for convenience. It's all about convenience, right?
It is. Well, that's why when we were thinking about for composting, the location we were trying to kick around, okay, one, we want to make sure it's relatively secure and people are keeping an eye on it, so that type of thing. But at the same time, we don't want to make it too hard for people to not notice and drive by. So we think we have an identified location with that. Well, I appreciate you coming in. I know you've got a lot of things to do. Definitely we'll bring you back on, and I'm sure you'll see as many grant applications as we can get for your...
Yeah, keep bringing them to us.
Absolutely.
Mayor, appreciate it. Thank you for what you're doing in Reynoldsburg. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Joe Lombardi from SWACO doing a great job for us. Lots of other cool things going on. From Reynoldsburg City Schools. Obviously last night was their board meeting. Hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, but obviously they were talking about the teachers that were laid off as part of the levy issues. If you want to find out more about the levy and if there's going to be one in the fall, there is a finance committee meeting today at 3 o'clock at the board office. I believe a couple of board members will be there that are on the finance committee, and they'll probably be talking about where they're at financially. So kind of keep that in there. One thing that has come out, and you may have seen it in the news, and I talked about it before, that the city of Reynoldsburg has decided to go ahead and pick up the cost of the SROs, the school resource officers, between Livingston campus and Summit campus, for a couple of reasons. One is I used to be a teacher, and I used to be a high school teacher, and when I worked, the officers that I worked with from the Columbus Police Department were actually just as much a part of the staff as everyone else. They got along with the kids, they helped kind of diffuse things, and they were very rarely called upon to do anything beyond kind of just being in the moment. In this day and age, you never know what's going to happen, and having those officers there is going to put a lot of people's minds at ease. Now, why security officers or police officers versus other positions? One is the police officers already work for us, so we don't have to worry about adding in that regard. And they're already on staff, they're already kind of covered in payroll for the majority of the year when the times that they're not actually working at the school district, so we went there. So I know there was a lot of discussion about why this versus, say, social workers, guidance counselors, and things like that. And those are completely legitimate questions. But there are certain limitations of what the cities can provide. If you watch the meeting on Monday night, which we'll talk about here more in a minute, Councilman Baker was asking, and there is a very strict guideline of when schools can, when cities can use money that they have for anything really. And in this particular case, what we can use for have to demonstrate a public good. So in this case, police officers in the school districts actually does constitute a public good. Beyond that, you have the board members' office hours every Friday. For this Friday, board member Whitman will be there from 3 to 4 p.m. And that's always a good thing at the Graham Road Welcome Center, and he's also online. I didn't get a chance to find out exactly how well the purse bingo went, other than the fact that my wife did not win anything, and she was very sad about that. But everybody else seemed to have a good time and enjoyed it. I know the last couple of purses, the Louis Vuitton, was incredibly well received, and everybody was very intent at that point in time, so it was a good thing. But again, keep an eye out for that. And we also have some information on a youth football camp. It's June 7th from 12 to 2 at the Livingston Stadium, and that's open for everyone grades K through 8. Now, for the fun conversations. Chickens. So, on Monday night, and what was actually a really cool thing, and Councilman Lou Salvati actually posted about this, A lot of times in city, everybody feels like they don't have a say, or that things are being done and all of this other stuff. But this was an opportunity for residents to come out and talk about what they wanted when it came to chickens. Whether it's chickens of the KFC variety or other local vendors, or whether or not we should allow them in residential communities, and if so, how would that look? It was about, I want to say, 17 total responses, including some emails and guests. Predominantly pro-chicken. Not everybody was anti-chicken, but there were some. But everybody kind of agreed, for the most part, that if chickens do come to Reynoldsburg, there does have to be some sort of guideline for it. So what council has asked us to do is to take a look at a couple of different things. One, finalize what the cost would be to the city for staff and materials if the city were to take on the responsibility of maintaining, to make sure that the permits are correct and the chicken coops are there and nothing smells. And then the other part was maybe can we partner with the Columbus Department of Health? So I have a meeting with them next week that I'll find out some more information about. But in the meantime, the chicken debate will continue to go on, and I'll make sure and keep my friend here with me the entire time. We also want to update you on pollinator gardens. So the next meeting will have kind of a quick update of our pollinator garden policy. If you don't know what a pollinator garden is by this point, then this doesn't apply to you, but for everybody else, a pollinator garden is basically how you grow a garden that actually attracts bees and butterflies and things like that to help kind of produce more pollen, produce more growth all the way across. The restrictions that we do have on here are not really burdensome. If they're within the right of way, in between the street and the sidewalk, nothing can be taller than 6 inches. That's called technically in the right of way. And everything else has to be at least 3 feet from your neighbor's property line and in relatively good condition, meaning it shouldn't look like it's a home for every other animal in the world. It should be relatively clean, and so people can see it, but out of the way as far as driving is concerned. If you are planning on having a pollinator garden or interested in more, please reach out to our Parks and Recreation Department and the city, and we'll get you all permitted, because what we don't want to do is we don't want code enforcement to come in and put a tag on your door saying you haven't cut your grass, when in really it's not your grass, it's actually your pollinator garden. So hopefully you'll take a look at that. As far as our Reynoldsburg Police Department, nothing going on right there. I'll have some comments on them in a little bit. They do have a Red Cross blood drive on May 21st, so there's plenty of time to register for that. I've already got my spot booked for that day, but come on out. It's right at RPD, and they always have some kind of incentives there, and most of the time it's just so that way I can have Oreo cookies because I was good and donated blood. The rest of it is April 30th. We have the West Licking Fire open house at the Taylor Road Firehouse, and it's from 6 to 8 p.m. On a side note, so they have a levy coming up to support the fire department. They had a levy in November as well, and while it did pass in Reynoldsburg, it did not pass in the rest of the portion of West Licking Fire. So they're going to tell you a little bit about information about it, how it's going to affect you as far as property taxes and things of that nature. But while you're there, if you go a little earlier, take a look at the pathway that's there. The pathway is actually from Taylor Road, and it goes all the way to the tennis courts at Wagner Road Junior High. So it's a really nice path. It's a great walking opportunity. And then once Wagner Road is completed, then you'll be able to walk really from Taylor Road all the way to Wagner Road without having to step on Broad Street or Main Street, which is a part of our kind of purpose in all things. So go ahead and check that out. As far as our road updates, we've got our first one. So the work at Priestley for the culvert is wrapping up today and tomorrow. So probably in the next 24 to 48 hours, that work will shift to what is called Culvert 2, which is the area right by St. Pius. Same rules apply. It'll be closed at that location, but you'll have north and southbound access from Broad Street and Main Street all up until you get to that particular location. That will probably take the rest of the month depending on weather. So kind of keep that in mind as far as your traffic and transportation. Once that's done, it will be northbound traffic only from Main Street until you get to around the MI subdivision, and then from the MI subdivision and Amelia Drive, you'll have north and south access. So we've got that. The Taylor Road Sewer Project, we've got about 3 weeks while they're on Taylor Road, again, weather depending. They should be moving out of the area that they're in now in the next couple of days, probably by the middle of next week, and then they'll move all the way down to the property line. And again, as of right now, it's just a sewer extension. That's all that's there. And then I do have an announcement, and we'll be getting some more information. It's relatively late breaking news. We are going for a Bryce Road improvement grant. We've done this before. We think third time is the charm with this one. We figured out based on some feedback, some things that we needed to improve. But we want to share this information with you. So on June 2nd at the Reynoldsburg Library between 6 and 8 p.m., we're going to have everybody come out to the library and we're going to talk about the improvements. Part of it is going to be the intersection realignment at Bryson, Maine, but then we're also going to put things on a little bit of a road diet past the library until you get to just past, I want to say, not Retton, but Reigate. So that'll be some things out there, but that'll be at the library. We'll have some more information on that as we get a little bit closer. So I'm going through all my papers here. I didn't say it when Joe was here, but I wanted to say thank you for advertising our community cleanup information. Community cleanup is 1 week from this Saturday, and it's going to be great from 9 to 12. We're going to take a lot of those things, including hazardous materials, appliances and cabinets, doors from Habitat for Humanity, clothing, books, and home goods from the Volunteers of America, document shredding, medication collection, flag collection and disposal, as well as some bulk trash items and electronics. We're also taking batteries and paints and all those different types of things. So that's 1 week from this Saturday, so it's going to be a lot of fun out there. Did drive out by Bryce Park. Things are still drying out there, and hopefully that's going to be something that will be taken care of. So the question that you mentioned earlier was about the development of the sports complex, and conveniently enough, I'm not making this up, we actually had a meeting with the developer earlier this morning. So they are finalizing what they believe is the blueprint and how it all is going to work for zoning, for parking, what kind of businesses will be in the front portion of it and things like that. So they're going to give us, come back to us in about 3 weeks with a more kind of robust site design to kind of go through and make sure that everything fits the way it needs to. And then they're going to do a couple of other details for engineering, hope to plan and submit by June or July of this year. And then their goal is they still want to break ground by the end of the year. Right now they're in that fun stage of, okay, we think we know what's going to happen in the athletic stuff. Now what about the front side? They have identified what they believe is going to be the restaurant, and then there's a couple of other components in there that they're looking to. So we've got that going for us. Other development news, and I'm not violating anything. I am saying this because I just saw it on social media. If you did not hear already, I told you last week that the former 4th and Goal / Tempeh Taco by Prost has been sold, and the buyers have now made themselves public, so now I can share that as well. So I'm going to read their release. Slab Kitchen is thrilled to announce that they are moving to a new location at 7360 East Main Street, bringing its signature bold flavors and vibrant atmosphere to the heart of downtown Reynoldsburg. Known for its elevated comfort food, yes. Adding a full bar and craft cocktails and a laid-back vibe, the new space features modern yet cozy design. The menu will stay true to the Slab's roots, offering fan favorites. We're also introducing some other things. They're saying that they're incredibly excited to grow the Slab family. I can tell you I'm more excited. I enjoy Slab. We've gone there a number of times. The owners have been in here probably about 3 times in the last couple of weeks, just trying to work through the details for zoning and permitting and making sure the building's ready to go and stuff like that. So that's going to be a nice addition to that corridor. Really looking forward to it. Don't know exactly when the grand opening is. Got a couple of other things that they got to jump through, but we're really excited about that. Any questions, comments so far?
Go ahead.
For the pathway near the West Licking Fire Station, would it be possible to have some directional arrows painted on the blacktop at the school campus to provide guidance on the best pathway to take to reach Wagner Road?
Yes, we can start working with the schools on that one. I think the pathway was done towards the end of the fall and so then became more of a wintry thing, but I do think we need to have some pathways. What we would also like to do is line some of the areas, some more trees and some storybook frames all the way throughout like we've done in some of our other parks. Any other questions for right now?
That's
all right. Some other fun things. You know, social media is always fun, and I kind of brought into a couple of things this past weekend about the development on Taylor Road. So Taylor Road, right across the street from what we all usually call the Victoria's Secret or Bath & Body Works facility, is going to be a new jobs creation center. It's going to be logistics and some warehousing and who knows what else is going in there, with an approximate 400 jobs. And there always are questions about, okay, how does all this stuff work? Well, first of all, the area had been zoned for that type of business for really about the last 5 or 6 years. The property owner, which was Bath & Body Works, had been in negotiations with a very specific company, in this case Core 5, over the last couple of months to get this identified. And there are a few things that they talked about. They wanted some economic incentives to come to Reynoldsburg because that's unfortunately the way business is done. I know there's a lot of people that disagree with that, but the reality is if you have two business opportunities to go to location A or location B, and location A is offering incentives, location B is not, odds are they're going to go to location A. So what we have to do in that point is try and make the best choices that we can from a development point of view. So what we did is we worked with Licking Heights Schools, where that is controlled by, and what we've done is created an abatement process that actually still benefits the schools while still providing a little bit of relief to the business to make sure that they come in here and provide those jobs to the city of Reynoldsburg. Because honestly, the number one priority for me is to bring jobs to Reynoldsburg, because without that revenue, there's very little else that I can do with anything. If Victoria's Secrets or Bath and Body Works was going to all of a sudden leave Reynoldsburg, it would be devastating. So we have to find ways to diversify our income base. So abatements are there, and it's part of the process where the school district, Licking Heights, will get 25% of the full value of the property once the buildings are complete, plus an income share. And that's going to be significantly more than what they get right now, which is about $1,400 a year in property taxes. So that's part of it. There are other questions that came up about TIFs. For those of you that don't know, TIF is tax increment financing. Basically, the cities get a property tax based on everything. It's very low in comparison to what school districts get. Schools are funded by property taxes. Cities are funded by income tax. But what TIFs do is it allows us to do major infrastructure projects. So we're looking at things like TIF money that has been able to help out with public infrastructure like parking lots, sewer work, things like that. And those are the things that we do. So sometimes we take that money and kind of bundle it up and get it ahead of time over the course of, say, 10 years, and then that helps us build out a lot of things, which is one of the things that we're doing on Wagner Road, which is actually allowing us to build the improvements needed on Wagner Road. The sewer line project on Taylor Road is another example of that. It is a project that ultimately will probably be about $6 million. 1.3 million of it is going to be paid for by a grant from the state of Ohio, and the rest of it will ultimately be covered by the developer, as well as reimbursed after the fact from the TIF to allow for that development to happen, which will also open up sewer access to the school district and other things. And for the most part, it doesn't cost anyone anything. Those areas were not in the city in the first place, and so the money was not being generated there. And so all of that stuff that's going to come out is actually much more beneficial in the long run. So that's my job, is I have to look at ways to find ways to increase commercial viability and also infrastructure, while at the same time not necessarily having to come to the taxpayers every couple of weeks, it seems, to ask for more money. So that's that. If you have any questions on that, come out to my town hall, but I'll talk about that later. After you're done with the community cleanup, we have Healthy Kids Day on April 26th from 12 until, I can't see what times that says, 6 p.m. Till 2 p.m. And I'll be out there probably about 1:30, and I'll bring one of my books that I like to read to everyone, so I'll have that out there at that point in time. But that's at the YMCA. It's open to everybody. You don't have to be a member, and it's all about kids being healthy. So come on out. I know that Councilwoman Erin Hill will be out on site after she gets done at community cleanup, and that's because she told me that earlier today. Other cool things coming up, May 6th, we have the ballot issue. It's the Ohio Public Works Commission. This allows for grant funding to come to cities for big projects like Wagner Road and Main Street. That'll probably be the only thing that most of you see on your ballot. I think on the Licking County side, there's a Republican primary, but the infrastructure is going to be on everybody's ballot. It's a huge thing. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's beneficial to help communities work with that infrastructure that is so desperately needed. So I did mention the town hall earlier. Again, that's going to be April 24th at City Hall from 6 to 8. I'm going to talk about development and why things happen and why they don't. I'm going to talk about street projects. I'm going to talk about traffic. And I'm going to talk about the relationship between the city of Reynoldsburg, the state government, and the federal government, because there's a lot of things moving right now that do impact us, and there are a lot of things that really don't impact us as of yet. But we're going to have those conversations. I really hope you come out. It's a great opportunity to basically ask me questions about anything. If nobody shows, then nobody shows. But if 5 people show up, or 2 people show up, or even just 1 person shows up, I'll answer all your questions, and probably have my friend the chicken here with us at the same time. Social media things. So it was an interesting thing. So obviously we had conversations about tips and abatements and philosophies, and then somewhere along the same line, there were 3 comments that stuck out to me. And they were kind of insulting, but at the same time, I had my own philosophy on how to deal with this. So the first comment was, Reynoldsburg is hood. I'm not really sure what that means. I asked the person who posted that what hood meant, what that interpretation was, and they did not respond, which is unfortunate because I think people could probably draw some conclusions as to what they feel hood means. I don't necessarily agree with it, but maybe it's using a definition that I am unfamiliar with. But again, if you're going to call the city something, let me know exactly why you feel that way and what can we do to make it better in your particular point of view. Another poster posted that the city and the police are trash, which was a whole other different conversation piece. I'm not really sure why that is the case. The city is not trash. I think the city is growing. I think economically we're developing very well. We're getting new restaurants, new jobs, all of the things that we're looking for. And certainly the police department is not trash. If you want to call certain things that I'm doing trash, you know, we can have those differences of opinions, of course. But our police department is well above board. They are probably the finest group of individuals that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And I don't really work with them as much as I probably should at times. But I also think they're probably best that they don't want the mayor hanging around with them all the time. But they do so many things for our city that we don't really realize, because usually when you're dealing with a police officer, it is at the worst possible times of your life, whether it's getting a ticket or something much more tragic. So they certainly do not deserve to be called trash. And the last one I know is very much referring to me, which I didn't know about. It's the first time I've been called either of these two particular items. One was lunatic fringe. That was a new one. I had not been called part of the lunatic fringe. I again asked what that meant, did not necessarily get a response. And the last one, of course, is the very favorite one that everybody likes to call everybody else on this this time around, woke. Again, I asked what does woke mean, and still haven't been able to get a clear definition from people that use woke as a negative term. I am who I am. I've never been anything other than that to the people of Reynoldsburg since the time that I became a public office holder in 2014. I doubt that I will change, not because I'm stubborn, which I am, but it is who I am, and I'm trying to be as authentic as I can be to everybody out there. And if you have questions about my policies, procedures, what the city does and does not do in relation to what you think, I welcome the chance to have that conversation with you. Social media is fine for certain things, but I think that a lot of times nuance can be lost in a couple of typed phrases. So I think those are types of conversations that should happen in person. Specifically, come out to the town hall. I'd love to talk about what you think Reynoldsburg is or is not, and what we can do to make it the place that we all wish it to be. It's just interesting. I look at this, care very much about the city, and I think most everybody cares very much about the city and wants the best for it. So hopefully everybody out there will join me in that effort. With that, we've got some other fun things coming up. We've got no cash drops this weekend that I've seen, but we do have the Celebrate USA 250th birthday, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're a year away. We've already had some conversations with our fireworks company about how that's going to look, because you know we have to be redder, bluer, and bolder than everyone else because it's the 250th birthday. So we're looking forward to that. But if you're still interested in serving on the committee and working on some things, please reach out to Jessica. I know she's heading that up and it's got some really cool ideas coming for us. Any comments, questions, anything coming up?
Nope.
No? Okay. Next week we have our very special guest, Franklin County Commissioner Kevin Boyce. He will be here. And then please keep an eye out for all of the other amazingly cool things that we're going to be doing for Earth Day, Arbor Day, community cleanup. A lot of things on our Parks and Rec page that are coming out. So we've got things in the next couple of Fridays. We're going to be planting some trees. We're going to be awarding somebody the really cool thing that they've got going on with their coloring design that they did as a second grader in Reynoldsburg. So lots of cool stuff with that. And as always, stay safe, stay respectful. And if you have any questions, please shout out. And no matter what, please put your shopping carts away. Thanks, everybody. Our chicken and I will see you later.